Good evening and welcome to the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Elite Series, Round 3, heading to Indianapolis. What a fitting track for a series on the Road to Indy calendar to head to the very track where the main game's series name was derived from. So these Indy Pro cars, they're low-powered, and there is some massive flat-out sections on this road course today using the lesser-known of the Indianapolis courses. They're going to be a fun race for us all right here on the global SimRacing channel. My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me, Oisin Parker, Joe Peak behind the scenes, and Dougie Beard, responsible for all the cameras you're seeing over the course of the broadcast. Let's dive down and take a look at the road course here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Though this track is by far more famous for its oval, which has been around for more than 100 years, road racing has become a regular feature thanks to the infield course built at the turn of the century. It has gone through multiple changes since then, but here on iRacing there are two road layouts to choose from. Both clock in at just over 2.5 miles, with the moto version including 16 turns and the road version having 13. The bike circuit is far less used on iRacing with its more technical start to the lap, but still runs in the traditional counterclockwise direction. The road circuit, however, runs clockwise and presents a stark contrast between the twisty infield portion and the incredibly fast half that runs on the oval. Passing is often difficult here, but by far the most popular spot is under braking down into turn 1. From there, drivers are taken through a series of corners with little chance to rest between them. However, the exit of turn 11 often proves to be the most critical of the corners, with it leading you back onto the oval. Taking what is usually turn 1 in reverse, drivers build up incredible speeds. This tends to cause slipstream battles to erupt and can often make for close, exciting finishes. Formula 1, IMSA, and MotoGP have all taken to the track, but currently IndyCar has become the biggest event the road circuit sees all year. Preceding the traditional practice and qualifying weeks leading to the Indianapolis 500, the Grand Prix of Indy has become one of the more desirable victories to claim. While there is still a proportionally small amount of history built on this version of Indianapolis, it's quickly becoming both a popular and well-used portion of this famous racetrack.
Look there at this famous facility where it can host over 250,000 people in its seated capacity, making it the largest sporting venue in the world. Oisin, what more can you tell us about this famed track?
Built in 1909 originally. They went to Europe and then they realized, oh, we need these things called racetracks too, and so the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was built in Indianapolis, Indiana. It is 4.2 kilometers, 2.6 miles, this road course. Interestingly, only 200 meters longer than the famed oval course here, and it is the first time that cars have been running clockwise at Indianapolis, was when this GP course was built for the 2000 United States Grand Prix. Of course, that lasted for 7 years, and now we are racing Pro Masters here. We got this famous banked turn 13, we got the tight and twisty technical slippery infield section, and we got a lot of drivers who have their work cut out for them today in order to master this course.
And as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. And thanks to SimMSA, let's take a look at our championship standings. This is how the drivers look after 2 rounds of competition. Nicholas Delk holding a narrow lead over Greg Seitz. Declan Eady and Mark McDonald are tied for 3rd. David Thoreau sat there in 5th, 16 points off. So a very big chance that our championship table could look completely different at the end of today's running. In the team standings as well, it's just as close. Aussie.
Yes, Rust Racing Iron is sitting in first place, just 8 points ahead of the RSR Esport team. Team Talent 3 wide is third, with Team Talent Kinetic, their sister team, fourth, and Rust Racing Steel is sitting in 5th place. And boy, do I ever love those team names, Ryan.
They are certainly team names for the history books. Race details for today. This is how things are going to look over the course of today, same as we have come to expect from most PRL series, Aussie.
Indeed, so round 3 out of 10, we have open setups here today, drive-thrus at 11 incidents, disqualifications at 20 incidents, bonus points for pole, fastest lap, 3 incidents or less, and we have what is said to be a 100 lap race. However, it is a 45-minute timed event, and that will, rest assured, run out sooner than 100 laps, because we'd be sitting here for quite a while, Ryan, otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think this one's set to 100 laps. Definitely going to be a 45-minute race over the course of what is 2.5 miles or 4.2 kilometers, just a touch longer than the oval section of this facility. So qualifying, it is a 15-minute open session, which means drivers have got to vie for some track to themselves or vie to get behind someone when you head up onto what is normally turns 1 of the Indianapolis circuit, as you run clockwise direction as opposed to anti-clockwise. Nathan Lewis is currently our fastest driver, and he's just gone even quicker.
Indeed, an interesting point of note, some drivers already are picking up the draft at some points, and I was just watching David Seroux, who passed Alex Guillaume, and he was doing 7 kilometers per hour faster at the start-finish line when he was drafting all the way from the last corner. So that's the kind of idea that how much time you can make or how much faster you are when in the draft. It's about 6 miles an hour or 10 k's an hour in total over the course of the straight in terms of top speed. Of course, these cars are also starting to hit the red limiter at some point, as the king of chins, Josh Chin, is coming towards the start-finish line.
Let's see what he can do. So Greg Stites just went to the top. He's in the middle of a 4-car train as well, so Slipstream definitely helping him. Joshua Chin all by himself. There's a car just off in the distance, but looks like he's not going to register a lap on that attempt, so he's made a mistake somewhere on the racetrack and probably dropped a couple tyres off the edge of the black stuff and copped himself an off-track for his troubles. Here's David Seroux, the Canadian, right in front of fellow Canadian Alex Goyon. So Goyon back in 15th, Seroux in 3rd. Goyon going to get a nice tow off the back of Seroux here as he comes across the line. He does a 22.0, so no improvement for him. But for Goyon, he too wasn't able to improve. Greg Stites, he stays at the top with a 4/10 gap.
Yeah, and if you look at Andreas Ake and Declan Eady and then all of those other guys, you can see just huge, basically a huge queue of cars. Greg Stites, as you said, still in the lead. Mitchell Green behind him, Mark McDonald, as well as David McDonald in that same queue. And they are gonna run into a bit of a traffic jam here on the infield section, but they make up a lot of time on that banked oval section of the track. And Greg Stites, he actually was a little bit slow last time by. I think he was leaving himself a little bit of a gap for pit lap and draft tactics. That's what the qualifying, at least, is going to be all about, because you need the draft in order to be the fastest here, I think. And ideally, you want to catch up to someone just when the main straight is starting, Ryan.
You do, and that is exactly what he is going to do as he closes to the back of Declan Eady. A couple cars in front of them on the track is David Seroux, Alex Goyon. I'd argue that this train does stretch all the way back to Stites. Andreas Ike just hanging on in there a few 100 meters back as Seroux again can't find an improvement. Here comes McDonald, part of the big group of cars. Does he find an improvement? No, he doesn't. Greg Stites, he doesn't. His teammate, who was getting a nice slipstream, he wasn't able to improve. So you talk about being behind someone through the middle section of the racetrack. Dirty air, we've seen already in the series, is a factor, and it is definitely hampering you. So it's I guess it's a assumption of risk versus reward. Do you gain enough out here on the oval to overcome the deficit you suffer through the infield?
Yeah, and well, it's a double-edged sword, really. You kind of wanna, I mean, ideally, you would get past somebody on the racing line into turn number 1, and then you wanna catch up to someone so you don't get too much dirty air right on those slow last couple of corners. And then once you get to the straight, you get the draft again. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen that way. But what can happen here are teammates walking together and, just giving some help to each other. David McDonald, Mark McDonald, I think they're doing just that right now. Sitting in 7th and 8th, Mark 7th and David 8th on the overall standings. They're right behind each other and towing Alex Guon along with them, and this should be Mark getting now the optimal lap. He's got a 22.1 on board, doesn't get a lap this time around, should get one next time though. However, he has to lift early into turn number 1, and that's not the optimal thing you want to do as they run into some traffic fresh out of the pit lane.
I counted 9 cars on that shot of the main straight there, all in a big group together. You mentioned down at turn 1, so Seitz and his teammate, Mitchell Ian Green, are working together. They are going back and forth each lap to give each other the slipstream and the tow. So, as you mentioned, teammates are a massive help, and they are working together exactly as you'd expect. Nathan Lewis, after leading early, still sitting in 2nd, the better part of half a second away from the top of the sheets. He's got 2 tenths in hand over a very close scrap behind. David Soroa, Owen Watts, Wilson, and Edie, all covered by about 600ths of a second.
Yeah, and I was watching Sides right now coming to the main straight. He was actually lifting to give Mitchell Green some drafter. Now, Mitchell Green sitting only in 17th place, but I wonder if he's going to get even faster now that Greg is giving him some tow here and trying to drag him up to those good positions, 23.6, and there he go. Greg is going to give him the position and allow Mitchell Green to have a clean lap here for the last couple of minutes to try and improve on his times. They also got Andreas Ike and Declan Eady right ahead of them. However, I don't think Mitchell's going to catch up right to him. Still, Sides, Lewis, and Eady, top 3, and I must say, Greg Sides, he's in a league of his own currently in the standings.
The benefit for Green there is he's arriving at turn 1 to begin his lap with a lot more speed than if you arrived without a car in front of you. So he's finding a benefit early and then using clean air to find time through the infield section. Nathan Lewis getting a very nice tow, and it's enough to find an improvement of 2 tenths of a second. That was Liam Quinn that was giving him that benefit, and now he's going to slip up the inside at turn 1 and return the favour, regardless of if he wants to or not, because Quinn's going to stay glued to that gearbox.
Yeah, he is, and at this point in time, you just want to, roll with it, give the guy the tow as well. The last thing you want to do is make enemies, because I know some people who deliberately slow down on the qualifying lap if they see someone drafting them and saying, no, you can't have the draft, you can't have the pony, basically. And once again, we see Mitchell Green coming to the line, 11th, so he finds improvement, a significant one, finding himself on the edge of top 10, and here goes Greg Sides again, potentially for his final qualifying attempt.
I reckon it's fair game. If you see someone substreaming you, you don't want to give them the tow, you pull out of the way. Just don't expect any favours from them in the rest of qualifying or the race, especially if it's your championship rival that's trying to get a benefit from you. I wouldn't be giving any sort of advantage to them. Michael Overbay in 20th going to pull off, and Daniel Zegers will be left with nothing but clean air in front of him. He'll be happy now, but he'll be very sad in a moment when he reaches the oval. You see the famous structure that sits in the middle of the main straight in the background there. Zegers then riding on board, looking over the front right assembly of this Indy Pro 2000 car. It does look like a slow lap. In fact, it is, because There goes the time in which he would have needed to improve. And he's just coming through to the main straight now. So he's warming up for his final attempt. Here's a 3-car train. David McDonald with the meat in the sandwich.
Yeah, it is. And, that's something I want to talk about, Ryan, actually, because in this case, it would be a David McDonald sandwich. Even if he was stuck between two teammates, it would be a David McDonald sandwich, because people always talk about, like, if you see a McLaren, a Ferrari, and a McLaren, you talk about, the Ferrari driver is in the McLaren sandwich. No, he's not. It's a Ferrari sandwich, because since when do you name a sandwich after the bun? You always name it after what's inside, no?
I hate you.
You're welcome.
I was going to say McDonald would be, it'd be a Big Mac sandwich, but,
that was actually a good one. That was actually a good one. But now you hate me, and that's very good. Hate is good. Hate is good, because without hate, you don't know what is love. Okay, we got qualifying going on, sorry.
Oh, Lewis. He's just invalidated his lap time. He actually glued himself to the back of Michael Overbay and bump drafted him across the line. That invalidated his effort, and he will find no improvement. They both retire from the session down turn 1. Andreas Eick, what can he do then? This will be his final attempt of the session. Currently sitting in 15th place with a 1 minute 22.419. An improvement of a 10th will gain him a few spots. Across the line he comes, a 22.385. He goes to 13th with that one. The Scandinavian, just outside the top 10.
And that's exactly the same time to 1 millisecond with Nicholas Delp. So, they both went 122.385.
Well, that's it. Everyone's done. Nice and early here. Let's go through our starting grid for our race here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Greg Seitz on the pole. Nathan Lewis will start outside row 1. Brendan Wilson and Declan Eady lighting up off row 2. David Soroya and Owen Watt starting from 5th and 6th. Joshua Chin and Mitchell Ian Green on row 4. David McDonald and Mark McDonald making a Big Mac row 5.
Armando Edwards starting in row 6. Alongside him is Nicholas Delp, Andreas Eick 13th, Liam Gwynn 14th, then it's Andrew Wood 15th, Daniel Ziegler 16th, Alex Guillaume 17th, Daniel Cronefus 18th, Byron Daly and Michael Overbay rounding out your row 10 and top 20. Aaron Ruffs and Linda Swaby your last 2 starters for this event. So 22 driver field. Well, it's better than 6.
Indeed it is. Don't forget, there's actually 2 races running side by side here. We're broadcasting the elite split. There is also a second division, if you want to call it, or the next run down on the ladder. It is, of course, the USF 2000 series, which is hosting about 25 drivers as well. Thanks to Precision Racing League, are setting up a Road to Indy ladder as part of their weekly racing system. Remember, if you want to see where your favorite driver is in the field without waiting for our leaderboard to cycle through or for us to highlight them, you can go to gsrc.tv and you'll be able to take a look at where they sit in the field, what sort of lap times they're doing, and how they're tracking in their conquest to get the best result possible. GSRC TV, your home for all your live timing needs. We're going to have a pace lap here, and we're going to be using the entire lap, so we've got a bit of time up our sleeves here. Who's your pick for this one?
Oh, that's a good one. It would be obvious to say Greg Seitz, because he's, on the pole position and he's been fast throughout the season. But I'm gonna say David Soroya. He's starting in 5th place, he's in a decent position, and he was quite fast in practice, so if he can find his rhythm and his consistency, then who knows? Because I think it's gonna be a draft fest between the top 8 drivers or so, unless Greg can find something up his sleeve. We're gonna have a lot of drafts here.
Teammates are going to be crucial in racing, just as they were in qualifying. Look there. Brendan Wilson, Declan Eady, Owen Watts, 3 RSR esports cars lining up with each other on the grid. Look for them to potentially work together. Maybe try and slingshot each other past the 2 drivers starting in front of them. Greg Seitz and Nathan Lewis. Going to be arriving at turn 1 with a whole head of steam as well, coming down at pretty much full racing speed thanks to the formation start. So turn 1 is going to be wild. Weather conditions for you at the moment, it is pretty standard track temp, 89 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, clear skies overhead, so a fair bit of UV shining down on the circuit, maybe a bit slippery in places. We need an alternate warning. You often see the signs on the road, caution slippery when wet. We need caution slippery when hot in iRacing.
Yeah, that we indeed do, Ryan. Couldn't have said it better. 26 degrees Celsius air temp, 32 degrees Celsius track temp, and get your sunblock ready and get your shades ready, because you don't want to be out there without any protection. That would be just foolish. And these drivers, I think they're gonna need other sort of protection once they head into turn number 1, turn number 2. Always a danger spot here at Indy.
Keeping up teammate talk, Greg Seitz from pole. His teammates, Mitchell Ian Green, David McDonald, they line up 8th and 9th. So they're going to have to work hard if they want to get up there and help their championship contender. There's a few guys with no help up inside the top 10. Joshua Chin and David Soror and Nathan Lewis. Maybe they'll all work together. If you can't find a teammate, find someone that wants to be friendly. Until the last lap, then it's every man for themselves.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like a super speedway, except nothing at all like that. But you want to have some friends. You don't want to race too hard early on. You want to give some leeway. You want to have some give and take and make sure you are in the right position at the right time to win this race. That's what it comes down to. So it's not only a race of pace, it's also a race of racecraft when it comes to these fast circuits.
All right, let's get ready. Let's get this one underway. 45 minutes ahead of us. Going to see a pit stop at some point as well for some fuel and potentially for some tires. How's this race going to pan out? I reckon it's going to be hard for drivers to pull away with the power of the slipstream up on the oval portion of this racetrack. Watch for the iRacing.com Porsche pace car to dive down and out of the way as we sweep onto the main straight. Greg Seitz going to be in control of the field. We're running clockwise here at Indianapolis. We're using the road course. Let's go racing. Greg Seitz in control. Waiting on the green flag. There it is. We are underway. Great start for Seitz. And going with him will be Brendan Wilson to the inside of Nathan Lewis as we stream down into turn number 1.
Oh, they got through it.
Yeah, they all made it through. We held our breath in the comms box. Everyone's got through turn 1 cleanly, but now there's drama. 2 cars off in the kitty litter. That's Owen Watts and Nathan Lewis.
Yeah, Owen Watts, Nathan Lewis coming together as well. Oh, and Michael Overbay and Brandon Wilson just hit each other as well. Brandon Wilson, who started in 3rd place, has spun around, got himself a bit of damage for his troubles, and is now being passed by Nathan Lewis, who started in 2nd. These 2 guys all the way to the back of the field. So that's a lot of drama for these guys, and that's going to potentially open up some leeway for Greg Seitz.
4 of your top 6 starters running into issues here on lap 1. So, Greg Seitz will lead Declan Eady. Mitchell Ian Green has just made a mistake, and he's lost out on a good spot. Joshua Chin also going off the racetrack. Huge shake-up to the running order on the first lap here at Indianapolis. Some massive movers. We'll go through them as we come across the line. So Seitz leads. 2nd place is Declan Eady. Mark McDonald from 10th to 3rd. David McDonald coming with him as well from 9th to 4th. Mitchell Ian Green had gained a few, only gained 3 after his mistake late in the lap. Nicholas Delps gained 6. Liam Quitters gained 7. Brian Daly in 10th. He's gained 9, and he's going to make another move up the inside.
Yeah, that's Josh Chin actually up on the inside. Byron Daly on the outside defending his position, doing so well. There's a good battle pack between those guys. Actually, David Savoy sitting 7th, I believe. Liam Quinn sitting 8th, and Armando Edwards sitting 9th. Then it's Byron Daly, Josh Chin, Andrew Wood, Alex Guan, Daniel Kranfus, and Daniel Zegers. All of those guys in one big pack. Now, a lot of position change is going to be happening on the main straight, on the oval section, but don't discount the infield section as well, because it's very technical, and as we saw on lap number 1, very easy to make a mistake here.
It is. That first lap was wild. Cold tires taking no prisoners, as some big names threw themselves off the racetrack. As we come around and we watch this battle for 7th place, what a battle this is. It's headed up by David Soror, Liam Quinn, Armando Edwards, Byron Daly, Joshua Chin, Andrew Wood, Alex Goyon. They're all in this one. Behind them, the back of the shot, Kranfus and Zegers are side by side as well. And in turn 1, there's a look from Edwards up the inside of Quinn, who goes deep and looks to the outside of Soror. 3 cars, and there's contact. Soroya escapes as Quinn got a little bit of hang time, but it looks like he might be able to escape.
Yeah, Liam Quinn, yeah, definitely, but his rear tires are not okay. A little bit of damage for Liam Quinn probably out of that one. Edwards just running a little bit to the rear corner of him, braking tad too deep into turn number 1. And it's so easy to make that mistake here, because you can't see how tight the corner is until you are at it. And it's very difficult to judge the proper point, especially when you're going too wide, because it's just so wide and then it narrows so quickly.
Joshua Chin looking up the inside of the infield on Daly, but that doesn't quite work out in his favour. Now he's going to look for the crossover move and get the run onto the oval section, which is exactly what he does. There he is, up on the inside. Now it's going to be a drag race that he will win, thanks to the extra speed he carried onto here, as Daly almost drives down into his left side tyres. And look at the slipstream that Andrew Wood is getting. A double toe, going to work in his favour, tapped it around to the main straight.
That's a huge one, and that's a bit of netcode, I can say it right away. Just a bit of contact and they're still wrecking, yeah.
It's still wrecking.
Wilson.
And that was a domino effect. As everyone checked up, they all started to go around. It started with Joshua Chin and
Daly. Josh Chin, Byron Daly. And here we see them coming to the main straight. So you can see it already, they came into a bit of contact. And let's stay on this. We get a new replay actually to see what happened. Byron Daly on the outside, and they're racing each other very aggressively as they come to the last corner. And then there's just gonna be a bit of contact. And it looked like, Chin just got punted into the inside wall, and he's gonna collect Andrew Wood, and then they're gonna keep crashing. And behind them, drivers just they have all the room in the world to avoid them, but they still make moves a little bit too late and running into each other. And I believe that's a couple of guys behind them just running into each other. Lyndon Swaby involved in that one, so just not braking enough was Brandon Wilson running into the back of Lyndon Swaby, and here we see on board with Owen Watts.
Owen Watts wouldn't have had much to know about this. There he sees them wrecking, can't see where they are. Now he sees, goes to the right, and he was one of the drivers who did have nowhere to go. I count 5, maybe 6 total involved in that wreck out on the main straight in front of the grandstand, where these virtual spectators just got a face full of debris.
Yeah, and meanwhile in the second place, as you can see in the pictures here, we got Mark McDonald passing Declan Eady for the second place, Mitchell Green 4th with David McDonald 5th and Nicholas Delp 6th. So we got a good battle packs of clean racing going on. But yeah, coming back to that earlier wreck, being a victim and all, you can say being a victim all day long, but the fact is, once you see smoke ahead and you see yellow flags ahead, what does a yellow flag mean? Caution, hazard on track. What do you do then?
Speed up.
Yeah, exactly. You see smoke, and then you just hear days of thunder in your head, going, you can go through it, and instead of lifting. And that's what's catching so many people out, because the last thing on racing drivers' mind is lifting, but that's where racecraft and decision making comes in, as Eady and McDonald go side by side once again.
I think the iRacing mindset for gassing it up when there's a wreck ahead of you is because there are no safety cars in road racing. So if you lift off and you lose about 5 or 10 seconds, you're not getting that back. So you're, putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. It's one of the downsides to not having a full safety car implementation on road racing here on iRacing. You see on ovals, drivers do take a lot more care knowing the caution is going to come out.
Oh, sorry. It reminds me of NASCAR Racing 2003, actually. Old game by Poppers and created by a lot of the same staff that did iRacing. And back then, we had something called Race Back to the Line. And that was wild, man. If you're aware with the term ARCA brakes, that's exactly what went down there. But yeah, 5 to 10 seconds or even 3-4 seconds, it sucks, not getting that back. But still, in case of Brandon Wilson there earlier on, when you see smoke ahead and you're not sure what's there, brake and, take time to assess the situation. Because not only do you not know what's ahead, but the drivers in front of you are most likely braking if they're being a little bit clever. And as a result of that, Lyndon Swaby was braking into the situation, Brandon Wilson wasn't, and Swaby was rewarded by a huge punt to the back of him as a, consequence of his cautious actions.
So let's watch this battle for P8. This is Armando Edwards and Byron Daly. Looks up to his outside. Potentially the catalyst for that big crash is still going strong and gaining a position. No, he can't hold it. Edwards hanging strong. Drives back around the outside at turn 2. And there's a spinner behind them from the back of the quartet, making it now a trio of a battle. It was him. Here's a replay.
Yeah, here we see coming into turn number 1. So you got a 4-car back right now heading towards turn number 1, and you see Alex Guillon just heading into the first chicane. And that's so easy to do once he's gonna exit there. Look, just getting a little bit loose over the curb and then just losing the control of his car. So at some point he was just trying to nail it, and was nailing it a little bit too hard. The car got caught over a bump, and then he was just spun around. Thankfully, no damage for Alex there. He's able to keep going, and the only thing hurting is his lap time and his ego a little bit. But he only lost one position, and that's to Daniel Chronicles.
It was a very slow spin. Rear end slowly went around on him, and now we look again as, like deja vu, Edwards is trying to fend off Daly, who pulls to his outside. Will Edwards be able to hang tough and keep the spot through 1 and 2? Let's see. And that will be the case. In fact, he clears him a little bit earlier this time. Still 34 minutes to go in this race. In just 10 minutes, we've had enough action for what feels like half an hour. But still, over half an hour to go.
Yeah, and I wonder if Byron Daly is getting a little bit frustrated behind Armando Edwards right now, because he's seemingly unable to find a way past Armando right now. The New Jersey driver Armando Edwards still holding on to 8th place, and Daly, I think right now will be best set to actually follow course as we jump on replay here with Aaron Brooks heading towards turn number 1. Now, what went down here? Oh, there was a slow car ahead of him. A very slow car. I think that might be... Oh, that... Yeah, he spun around. He spun around all by his own in turn number 1, so never mind, but yeah.
Yeah, he got put off by that lap car. You can see the indecision coming into the corner. Messed him up, and around he went. Greg Seitz is running away with the lead of the race, while Declan Eady and Mark McDonald do battle behind. McDonald on the inside, finally taking that spot away. But he's got to pull a gap in this infield, otherwise Eady will come right on back when they get back down there on the next lap. McDonald, of course, coming through the field after starting from 10th place.
Yeah, and I think they would be clever to try and walk together a little bit here, because Greg Seitz is not too far. The lead Greg Seitz has is under 4 seconds. So if Mark McDonald and Declan Eady can find each other, find a little bit of friendship out there on the racetrack as we watch the battle behind them, if they can find a little bit of friendship out here on the racetrack, they can, tow each other on the main straight, exchange pairs and try and see if they can catch up to the race lead. That's what I would do if I was Declan Needy or Mark McDonald. I would be reaching out to the other driver. I would be like, hey, let's just bury our battle hatchets for a while and let's try and see what we can do about the race lead. Because I would much rather fight for the win than the second place. Because second place, it's just first of losers. Sure, it's points, but I'm not celebrating second places.
If you're ever leading a race and Aussie's behind you, watch out because he will drive through you because he does not want to be first of the losers, as he puts it. Mark McDonald on that lap went fastest of the race so far and still lost the spot down at turn 1.
Yeah, Declan Needy getting past him, and you can see Mark McDonald not even trying to defend him, just letting Declan take the position and the racing line heading into turn number 1. Now, there is some room for improvement still for these guys, because Mark was holding on to the outside line. If he holds on to the inside, it allows Declan Needy to take the racing line better into turn 1 and get even more speed through there. But it's still a good job right now, and I think this is exactly what they need to do. Declan Eady and Mark McDonald work together. Last time by, Mark McDonald was able to catch 3/10 to Greg Seitz over the course of the last lap, and that adds up. 2/10, 3/10, it all adds up as we head towards the middle portion of this event.
Here's the lap time comparison between our leader Greg Seitz and Declan Eady. You see him pulling away, and then last lap, they shut it down for the first time in, well, since the start of the race. Wonder if on lap 10 it comes down again. Looking at the left, I don't reckon it did. No, it did. 2/10. So, Eady and McDonald, are they now starting to find themselves flying towards Greg Seitz?
Yeah, the problem is that McDonald wasn't able to stay close enough to Declan Eady last time by, so it's once again Eady leading them to another lap, so they weren't able to get any significant use out of that one, because pushing doesn't really work in open wheelers. You're not really pushing the car in front of you ahead. You're just, the only guy that's getting any use out of this is the one in the tow. So they need to change places more often. However, McDonald wasn't close enough. Still, Eady, thanks to that earlier draft, was able to catch up. But I'm very curious to see Declan Eady's lap time this time around compared to Greg Seitz and what they do in the open air.
That P8 battle we've highlighted already so far today is still really good. Armando Edwards has found himself behind Byron Daly, heading through the normal turn 1, but he is going to be able to give Daly a serve of his own medicine. He will pull to the outside of Daly, and down into turn 1, we see how this pans out. Liam Quinn in there as well, thinking about where he can go, deciding lifting off is the best course of action, and check out the speed from Edwards around the outside at turn 1, struggling to pull it up, but he does, and he takes away the spot. Well, look here, Daly with the inside, and wow, that door shut quickly.
Yeah, there was no door there, Edwards had to turn in at some point. Liam Gwynn, meanwhile, behind them. We should actually jump on board with Liam Gwynn, potentially, just to see what Liam Gwynn sees, because he is judging what these guys are doing, and here you can see it. And this is such a wonderful position. It's what we call a popcorn position, Ryan, because you can see him, right behind them, deciding what to do. What do I have to do here? Where can I go? He's hitting the limiter on the front stretch because he's in a 2-car draft and he can only go so fast. Right now he has time to calm down and, eat the figurative popcorn. Just open up his visor and stuff some popcorn in his face because he's watching this battle from behind. And meanwhile, on another note, from P number 2, P number 3, Mark McDonald is trying to pass Declan Eady, but Eady wasn't making it easy last time by. This time, however, McDonald able to make it through. So Ig looks like he is not quite as cooperative as Mark McDonald was earlier on, as we once again have battle heading into turn number 1 between this trio, Edwards.
The snap of
that's Daly
oversteer.
going very wide. Yeah.
Snap of oversteer on the outside of the corner, struggling for grip. Had to fight it, did a good job to not spin the car out, but he had to tour through the grass, and he's lost about 3 or 4 seconds, and he rejoins right in front of Andrew Wood.
Yeah, and here we see the replay. He's going to the outside, Baron Daly, heading into turn number 1. He's got the pass done, potentially, on the outside. Braking later, but just going in too hot into turn number 1, losing it over the marbles, and did a great job of keeping it going relatively straight, and only losing a couple of seconds, not hitting anything, not hitting the wall, not hitting any hidden nasty bumps on the grass or anything, just, able to keep going. And still, if these guys ahead of him, Liam Gwynn and Armando Edwards, if they start battling, he still has a chance to catch them up. It's still a long race. However, this is a heaven sent for Daniel Chronifus, who's now behind them, as we have a battle once again heading into turn number 1 between Edie and McDonald.
Do you sense a pattern forming in this race?
Yes. It's a pattern of duos fighting, and it's a pattern of passes into turn number 1, and it's a pattern of waiting it out, which is exactly what they should be doing at this point.
Hey, remember we highlighted that Edie and McDonald were starting to catch? Well, Stites responded and said, no, that's not happening, friends. And he's pulled it out to 4.3. So,
yeah.
Look there.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see it on the lap comparison between Greg Sides and Declan Eady. And the reason for that is that Declan Eady doesn't look to me like he's as willing to cooperate as Mark McDonald is. McDonald earlier on, he was letting Declan Eady pass, no problem. But when it came to Mark McDonald's turn to pass, Eady was saying, no, we're going to fight this, and I'm going to fight this. And as a result of that, they're not able to utilize the slipstream. And I don't think either of them has the single car speed to match Greg's sides. And who knows, maybe Declan Eady is thinking, I don't have the greatest of speed, so I don't, I want to battle this, I want to fight this, instead of, playing fair with Mark McDonald and risk losing ground to him and, dropping off from behind him.
They're at full noise when they get down to turn 1. Declan Eady, 260 kilometers an hour, he tops out at. Mark McDonald. Mark McDonald actually lifted off. So he's given up on trying to pass him. I think maybe seeing if maybe Edie can drive up to sites by himself and pull him along, but gotta say, doesn't look like it's happening. Speaking of McDonald's, here's David in 4th place. Mitchell Ian Green right behind him. These two are teammates, so expect them to work together. Maybe they can suck up to the back of the next car, which is that two-way scrap for second.
And get away from David Servat as well. David Servat, he's sitting in 6th place. He's trying to catch them up desperately. And look at the lap times for these guys. They're not bad at all. David McDonald, 122.49. Mitchell Green, 122.51. And David Servat, 122.58 as we jump on board with Servat there. And compared to the guys ahead, Declan Eady, 22.5. Mark McDonald, 22.7. So he had to lift off, and as a result of that, these guys are actually catching him. Look at Mitchell Green here. You can see him moving to the inside, and I think his teammate David McDonald is gonna let him through. No, Green was actually lifting, so he didn't want to go through just yet here. And that's a good example of great teamwork, communication. Make sure what you do, what you intend to do, and what is the best game plan. These guys are scheming plans and making decisions, moving at speeds of 250, 260 km an hour. And that just, demands respect. And that's what racing drivers are able to do. Because on the main straight, normally for any normal fault, it would be a terrifying experience to drive such a little car so fast. And these guys are like, I'm having time to breathe down the straight line in the corners. I'm just driving at a calm pace and, just thinking about what should I do right now to be in the best possible position come the end of this event. Oh, big save.
At least if you get it catastrophically wrong, here on iRacing, you can go, well, damn, I'm out of the race, but I'll hit the reset button and I'll try again next week. Whereas if you do it in real life, you may be trying to find a brand new chassis from somewhere.
Yeah, and Daly got the spot away from Liam Gwyn as well. Gwyn had to save, and Chronifos as well right now behind Liam Gwyn. And Daniel Chronifos, as a result of what happened earlier on between Baron Daly and Armando Edwards, Daniel Chronifos now finding himself in the draft, and he's pulling Andrew Wood along. And Alex Guillon will be watching this like, oh, I want to get into this too. So once again, it's gonna be potentially a big battle pack as we are on board with Daniel Chronifos.
Already on the limit up, and as he pulls out into the air, he will find no advantage. Oh, they both locked it up heading into turn 1. Chronifos was just able to slip up the inside and not into the back of Liam Quinn, and that will net him the spot, but I reckon that was a little bit more dicey than he had intended.
Yeah, and he was so on the limit into coming into turn number 1 as well, and Chronifos was able to get the pass through Liam Gwyn, locking up a little bit more, running a little bit wide, and that was a good job from both of these drivers to, you know, not come together at those first couple of corners, and Liam Gwyn deciding, okay, I'm not gonna fight it too much, I'm gonna stay alongside him, of course, but I'm not gonna fight it too much. We can't afford to lose touch of the guys ahead here, and that's what you're thinking here all the time. More so than at normal road events. Normal road events, you're just gonna battle, but since you got the draft element here, and the draft is so important, you're always thinking, at least one part of your brain is always thinking, okay, where do I have to be in order to get the draft from the next guy onto the next straight, because that is such a big thing. It is kind of like DRS in Formula 1. Oh, and Liam Gwyn is heading to the pit lane. Yeah,
So,
he's opening up the game.
first of the pit stops, Liam Quinn. It is a super duper long pit lane at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is an absolute eternity. He's been on the pit limiter since we first highlighted him being in pit lane. Still hasn't reached the first of our pit stalls. There he does. And he's got to get to his first. Now he finds it, pulls it up on the jacks.
Yeah,
Rear end getting propped up in the air. Or maybe that's just the angle of the tyres. Don't forget, the rear tyres are actually bigger than the fronts here on these cars.
Yeah, I would like to see a rear-wheel drive race car with bigger front tires than the rears. That would be funny.
That would be disastrous.
Depends on how you set it up, but yeah, and depends on the power as well. But yeah, Liam Gwyn back on the track. Now, Liam lost a couple of seconds, I think, on the pit stop due to the nature of not only him pitting as early as possible, but also coming very early to the pit lane. I was watching him, and he was spending a good 2 to 3 seconds, which he could have been braking. He was already breaking down and, you know, taking it, not breaking down as in broken down, but breaking down to the pit limiter speed. And he wasn't quite, you know, brave enough. Alex Guillon, let's see him coming to the pit lane, as well as Chronifos. And those guys are, well, Chronifos was being a little bit careful, and let's see, Guillon, is he able to gain any time? Yeah, he was quite careful too, but, you know, less careful than earlier on we saw with, I believe it was, I forgot who it was. Who it was? Win. There you go. Memory of a goldfish. And you can actually see them exiting the pit lane as well at this point in time. Chronifos coming to the pit exit, as is Alex Guillon. Chronifos now, where he's going to come back in comparison to Liam Gwyn. Answer is ahead of Liam Gwyn. In fact, Guillon's going to get past, but Liam Gwyn still ending up behind Daniel Chronifos. So these guys are going to continue their battle a little bit further back. And Gwyn is spinning out as well, and this is so surprising at the exit of here. You expected him to do it on the cold tires, but no, he did it on the second fast lap, or first proper fast lap, flying lap there. And you can see him heading into turn number 1. Everything's gonna be fine here. He's gonna brake just fine into turn 1. He's gonna see ahead of him Daniel Chronifos returning to the track ahead of him, and he's gonna, you know, maximize the exit of the chicane. Unfortunately, running a little bit too wide, hitting the grass and just spinning out and losing a lot of time. Fortunately, not hitting anything.
Now, pitting Do you want to pit by yourself and have clean air to put in the best times possible? Or do you want a drafting partner? Because if you have a drafting partner, you're going to be much, much quicker on the straights, but potentially slower through the middle section, just like in qualifying. So if Liam Quinn hadn't voted off the racetrack, we might have got an answer to that one.
I think you want to pit all by yourself, because even though yes, the draft is a big thing, it's not as big as in a super speedway or something. And as David Savoie has caught the Rust Racing boys as well, David McDonald and Mitchell Green, as we are watching those guys potentially come into the pit lane soon. Yeah, going back to the pitting, you want to pit all by yourself. Not only can you brake as late as possible heading into the pit lane, as we are potentially going to see with David McDonald here, but also if somebody around you makes a mistake with the cold tires, then you're going to be a little bit safer potentially. And ahead of them, Mark McDonald pitting as well.
Sights in as well from the lead of the race.
So this is going to be interesting. Declan Eady continuing on. He's going to inherit the lead for a little bit now. When he's going to come into the pit lane, we don't know. Probably quite soon.
Imagine the fuel going to run out relatively quickly on these cars from this point on, and Sights gets in and out in the flash. And he'll rejoin with a mountain of clean air behind and in front as well.
And would be interesting to see the pit time comparison between Mark McDonald and David McDonald, between the McDonalds, because David caught up to Mark during the pit stop sequence. So I think David managed to optimize his pit stop a little bit better, and he's now just a tad closer to his brother. And here we see it, Mark McDonald, a better stop time by 2/10, but on the pit lane he was spending 2.3 seconds longer, and that's gonna make all the difference in the world.
So how do you go slower in pit lane, Ozzy, when you're on the pit limiter, in theory, for the entire thing?
Well, a couple of reasons why you would go slower. First of all, he was at the start of the pit lane, he was going a little bit too slow, probably, being worried of the pit limit. And also another thing is that he initially missed his pit stall by just a little bit and had to reverse. So that's how you go slower on the pit lane.
You could also be too conservative and get it slowed down too early.
Yeah, but Mark missed his pit stall there.
Yeah, before coming into your pit box. Declan Eady looked like he was pretty committed on the brakes there. And he pits, and he rejoins. There goes Sights, and there's Declan Eady behind. So about 4 or 5 seconds between them, just as it was before the pit stops. And ooh, that looked tight. That was McDonald slipping by Green.
Yeah, that's Mark McDonald slipping by Mitchell Green, and Mark McDonald in a heap of trouble there actually on the infield section, and he has lost ground a lot thanks to that little mistake of his to Declan Eady. So instead of being in that second place duo where he was during the early half of this race and the early thirds of the race, now he's sitting in P number 3 with Mitchell Green and potentially David McDonald as well, looking to join in that battle.
Yeah, so bad pit stop cycle for him, with the outlap proving treacherous. 14 minutes left on the clock. A handful of drivers yet to make their pit stops, but most of our front runners now have been in.
Yeah, and can we give some love to Greg Sights here on the race lead? Because no wins yet this season, but he is a very, very, very capable driver from the northwest region of the United States of America. So he is showing here on Indianapolis that he's certainly one to watch out for later on in the season. Sitting second place in the points, 4 points behind the leading Nicholas Delp. And if these drivers finish as they are right now, then he's gonna inherit the championship lead as well, because Delp is only sitting 6th. So Greg Sights, no wins so far this season, 2 top 5s, however, and he is looking for his first one. And I must say, Ryan, been pretty much a perfect race for Greg here this afternoon.
So far, it has.
So far. Yeah,
4.5
commentators first.
seconds, the gap between himself and Declan Eady. 3 seconds further back to McDonald. Green about a second back. Another McDonald there in 5th. And then some pretty big gaps starting to form. List of drivers that haven't pitted. I think everyone's come in now.
Yeah, they pretty much would have to at this point in time, because you only have so much fuel in the tank. And remember, these cars are actually fuel limited to 65%, which is, funnily enough, same fuel limit as PRL is using in their GDE series, which runs on Wednesday nights here at iRacing Esports Network and Global Sim Racing channel. So that one is very interesting to watch out for. However, these cars only run around 30 minutes with the limited fuel, whereas the GDE cars run around 40 minutes in their 1 hour event. So, a lot of fuel limited races, and that's an interesting point, Ryan, to talk about fuel limits, because a lot of time people are for the fuel limits in terms, it's gonna enforce a pit stop, gonna bring a bit of strategy into the event, whereas I'm not that big of a fan, actually. And the reasoning for me not being a fan is that usually it ends up with the first half of the race being fuel saving and being in the draft, just so you can pit as late as possible and put in as little fuel as possible, and then you're gonna race for the last 15 minutes. But I can see the appeal.
I can see the appeal. It's the rules of the series I'm here commentating, so I love it.
Oh, sell out. Come on, man, have an opinion. Tell us what you really think.
I think America. No, I'm not finishing that sentence.
No. Yeah, in P7 we actually have a battle between Armando Edwards and Byron Daly. So these two guys back at it with Byron Daly on the outside, and this has gone wrong for you before, Byron. So don't get too close. Now he's gonna stick to the very far outside lane with Armando Edwards up on the inside. Let's see who breaks later.
Taking a very wide berth now, but remember, this is a battle that we've seen for about 20 minutes now between Edwards and Daly, arriving at turn 1 side by side, lap after lap. Edwards again prevailing on the inside. He's prevailed on the inside and the outside, has Edwards, so making it tricky for Daly to actually find a way by and stick there. Because when he does get in front and he defends the outside, the inside, Edwards has been able to drive around that outside line. So I don't see this battle resolving itself anytime soon.
No, and Edwards was actually right on the limit at the exit of the chicane. I was watching him, and he had to correct just a little bit of countersteer on the exit of the first chicane, and that's potentially giving an idea to Byron Daly about Edwards and how on the limit he is. Yes, he is able to prevail, but in order to stay in front at all these battles, there's gotta be something that keeps him in the front, and in his case, he's braking later and going hotter into that corner. Now Byron Daly once again gonna have a run at it. Is he gonna get ahead this time by? Once again, having to go around the outside.
Pulled out very early there. And has hit the brick wall that is the air. And so now he finds no advantage by the time they reach turn 1. Oh, he switches to the inside. And he can't get on the brakes late enough, but that was a bold move from Daly.
Yeah, he did it wrong, though. Yeah, he did wrong. Oh, and there goes Edwards. I was watching him going sideways a little bit last time by, and now he's lost it. Oh, he comes back again, but Daly goes through. So Edwards running out of tires there, going in a little bit too hot, and Byron Daly fighting an overtake where we didn't expect it. And Ryan, here is the replay. So Armando Edwards, we're on board with him.
Edwards did a good job not to change his line when he saw Daly making the switch behind him. He kept the car straight, kept it within the rule books, and then watch here, out of turn 2 and into turn 3, car steps away the rear end, has to overcorrect it, or has to correct the oversteer, and that's enough for Daly to step on through and pull about a 5 car length gap.
Yeah, and Edwards was a little bit too late on the brakes, and Daly got a good exit out of the first chicane, and that's what set up the pass, because Daly was on the inside, which we didn't see on the onboard shot, but we saw on the initial TV cam shot. and that caused Edwards to brake too late and make that mistake. So good job from Daly in not getting faster, not getting frustrated behind Armando Edwards, but instead, piling on the pressure. And I think it all started last time by when Edwards went a little bit sideways on the extra first corner. That's what gave Daly hope that, hey, this guy is gonna crack sooner rather than later.
Don't forget, Nathan Lewis started this race from second. Multiple times he's put down a new fastest lap in this race. He's got some blistering pace, and probably might have been the guy to challenge Sykes had he not made that error on lap 1. Now sitting 9th, he's got Edwards and Daly right in front of him, and I wonder whether he will have the same issue as Daly when it comes to trying to make the overtake stick. Now, was that a slow-moving car, Kranefuss? It is, and he was slow. This is why.
Yeah, we come to the replay here. Kranefuss, watching him coming to the final corners of the track and just going a little bit sideways, snapping it under braking and having to claw his way back from the gravel trap, from the grass. And I think that might be a technical issue, the way he got going. Meanwhile, we are on Lewis, or we should be on Lewis, who is coming right up to Armando Edwards and Byron Daly. They're on the main straight. Lewis gonna look to the inside, and Daly, Edwards not defending it too much. In fact, Edwards gonna look to make it 3 wide, and they come into turn number 1. Lewis brakes latest, and Edwards gonna have to yield and give him room. Meanwhile, Daly braked a little bit too late, leading this pack, getting a little bit loose, and Lewis has potentially a chance to take both of them here, Ryan.
Yeah, Edwards just trying to get as much draft as he could off of Daly before edging it over to his inside, thinking about 3 wide. In the end, didn't brake late enough to get alongside Daly. Lewis was able to clean him up, not able to get through on the next car, but watch down at turn 1 next time by Lewis, going to be a big challenger here, and potentially going to put himself back up into 7th after running outside the top 10 for a lot of this race after early issues from the front row. 5 minutes just over left in this race, a 5-second margin for Sykes. 2 seconds separating the other 2 podium sitters, so the top 3 looks settled. The battle well and truly on at low, 4th, 7th on back.
Yeah, and Lewis and Daly both struggling with their tires a little bit at this point in time. You can just see them wiggling around their corners. And Lewis here going to look to the outside. Is he going to go to the inside? No, there was no room there. So Lewis going to the outside, and look at him just flying past Byron Daly, who I think might have a little bit lower straight line speed. Oh, Daly going to come back to the inside toe. So maybe Daly was just lifting a little bit, being a wily fox. However, not going to get through this time around. So Nathan Lewis now leading this back ahead of Byron Daly and ahead of Armando Edwards. Now, what's the gap ahead of Nathan Lewis? Too much. So it's going to be these guys battling until the checkered flag flies.
Now, the key for Daly here is to not let Lewis get away in the infield. If he doesn't, then he'll be able to slipstream and slingshot back on by when we get around to the front straight and over the bricks. In fact, he's doing a very good job here of not letting Lewis get away. So watch for this battle to resume back up onto the oval. Out of the infield section we go. The exit here crucial for Daly. Lewis taking a lot of the inside there. Obviously not giving him an off track or a slowdown because he's able to carry the speed out onto the oval. Now here we go. There's about 4 car lengths between them. Now it's 3. Now it's 2. 1. And here comes Daly. Lewis going to cover the inside, driving it along the concrete on the right. And Daly gets a nose in front on the outside. Can he go the long way around at turn 1? Last of the late breakers will be Nathan Lewis. Inside prevails, goes a bit deep, and Daly had to check up there.
Yeah, Daly had to check up, and Lewis being very, very late on the brakes indeed. Daly getting a little bit sideways into turn number 1. Nothing doing there, but he's still gonna get a chance. Now, crucially, as we are on the dying moments of this race, at the yard of bricks, on the start-finish line, Nathan Lewis was a little bit ahead. So if it goes like this on the last lap, Nathan Lewis is going to win this battle. But, I don't think Baron Daly has said all he has to say about the 7th place just yet. And Armando Edwards, meanwhile, hanging back just a little bit. He just understeers out, so he has potentially a little bit of damage, or his tires have worn out so much that he just cannot bring the fight to these two, at least not in this moment. Baron Daly, once again, and are you ready for take number 3, Ryan?
Well, remember Armando Edwards was slipping and sliding around for a lot of this one, so would it be a surprise to see if his tyres have in fact fallen away just enough to prevent him battling here? As Lewis defending Daly to the outside, lap after lap, we see this story. Will it have a different ending on this attempt? Ooh, they're side by side through one and just holding on this time. That was as close as Daly's got to go around the outside on that attempt.
Yeah, and that was as late as he's going to break into turn number 1. He can't break in later or the car is not going to stick. It was so close this time around, but Lewis just getting the position and sliding ahead of him into turn 1. However, it was very close to contact because Lewis was just, pressing the throttle and, making sure he's the first one exiting that corner. So they might still get a crack at it at this during the course of this event. Meanwhile, a little bit of an update, no need to go to it, from the top 3, Greg Seitz, Dickel Needy, and Mark McDonald are going to be your podium runners in this race unless something spectacular happens. But behind them, the battle still going on for the 7th place.
Minute and a half left on the clock. Minute 22 lap times. Greg Seitz has already come across the line, so we're going to have white flag next time by. Lewis has pulled a good gap now, hasn't he? Edie. Sorry, not Edie. I was looking at 2nd place. Daly is not going to get there on this lap, and I reckon Lewis might have sealed the deal there as Quinn behind, trying to find some late gain on Daniel Cranefoos, who will lose out into turn 1, trying to fight back on the inside. Can't do it. Oh, yes, he can.
Oh, and Cranefoos gonna have the outside line heading in there, and they're still side by side. Liam Quinn and Daniel Cranefoos, and Cranefoos is actually gonna get through. That's impressive stuff. That's actually an impressive overtake, and he's gonna run wide, and Liam Quinn getting the position back. Oh, and Cranefoos hitting the grass, and great save there. And look at these, both of these guys on used tires, Liam Quinn and Daniel Cranefoos sliding around all over the place, and still nothing decided until Cranefoos makes that mistake heading onto the back straight.
There's Greg Seitz crossing the line, seeing the white flag. 1 lap to go at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Indy Pro 2000 Elite Series, brought to you by Precision Racing League and SimMSA. It's a 5-second gap that he carries. And it really looks like the top 3, 4, 5 are settled, but plenty of wild scraps down the order still to be decided. That is Liam Quinn, and he's managed to pull a big gap on Cranefoos through the infield, and he is comfortable as he now sees the white flag.
Yeah, he is quite comfortable there, not gonna get challenged into turn number 1. Still trying to break the draft just a little bit, and Cranefoos gonna catch him during the course of this straight. Not catch up to him, but catch a little bit and potentially make himself a threat for this last lap. And here is Michael Overbay. I don't think we mentioned him a single time in this race, but he's behind them too and potentially gonna challenge them heading onto the main straight. But it's all about this man, Ryan. Greg Seitz.
Greg Seitz put it on the pole and has not looked back since, barring the pit stop cycle. He has led every single lap of this race. Round 3 of the series going to go his way. Greg Seitz gets it done in Indianapolis. He will be kissing the bricks tonight.
Yeah, he will, and behind him, the battle for P number 7. Nathan Lewis gonna come over the line ahead of Byron Daly, I think, because Lewis was able to maximize his exit onto the front straight, so that's gonna end like that. And behind them, Liam Quinn, Daniel Cranefoos, there might still be a scrap here. Cranefoos, however, a little bit too far for my liking for him to make an attempt coming into the yard of bricks.
About 8 or so car lengths back. Official gap is 0.6 of a second. Liam Quinn will hold on. He will take 11th place. Cranefist will close up, but he won't get close enough. That's it. Let's go to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Stay with us after the break. We'll come back with your results and interviews here from Indianapolis in the Precision Racing League Indy Pro 2000 Series. Welcome back to the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We used the road course today, and what a race we saw. Full results right here on GSRC. Greg Sykes winning by 5 seconds in the end. Got that gap out early and held it steady from there on out. Declan Eady, Mark McDonald scrapped away in the first stint. In the end, Eady will come home second, McDonald in third. Mitchell Ian Green and David McDonald will round out your top 5. Then Nicholas Delp, Nathan Lewis recovering to 7th after an early issue. Byron Daly and Armando Edwards, Daly winning that race-long battle, and Alex Goyon coming home in 10th.
Liam Gwynn coming home 11th ahead of Daniel Cronifus. Michael Overbay and Dennis David Sawa 14th, and the last driver on the lead lap, Andreas Ike, Aaron Ruffs and Andrew Wood are gonna finish this race one lap down in positions 15, 16 and 17 respectively. And then the list of retirements: Josh Chin, Daniel Zegers, Lyndon Swaby, Brandon Wilson and Owen Watts are all gonna be classified as out of this event. So 5 retired drivers and 17 drivers finishing this race. And I believe, Ryan, you might have some interviews coming in soon enough.
Yeah, let's have a quick chat to Greg Sykes. Congratulations. That looks like a pretty comfortable victory.
Yeah, it was. I guess stuff happened behind me. I didn't really see what happened, but it looked like there was an incident behind me. And then after that, it was just kind of head down and try to keep putting in consistent, decent laps.
There were many incidents on lap 1. Most of your fellow competitors from the top 6 threw themselves off the racetrack. If we rewind all the way back to qualifying, that's what set this whole thing up for you. And you spent qualifying basically locked in step with your teammate. Talk us through how you two work together.
Mitch and I just practiced together. We figured that, this is a pretty easy track to take advantage of the draft, obviously down the huge long straightaway. And so we just basically swapped places each lap and tried to stay close to each other and get a good run coming out of the final turn. And then just, push hard on the next lap and then rinse and repeat with the other guy behind me, with Mitch and then me and back and forth. And we kind of worked it out. It's not a huge advantage, but because you give up half your laps that way essentially, but in the end it was well worth it.
All right. Well, it certainly worked out well, and I think catapulted you into a very good spot where you were able to run away with a race. So, quiet race for you. We look forward now to the next few races, and you can start getting ready for them. What are you looking forward to?
Just more. I'm hoping for more technical tracks, a little less roll, a little less oval. But I like the more technical tracks. So I think we have some coming up on the schedule fairly soon.
Who do you want to thank for getting it done for you today?
You guys, as usual, for the broadcast, PRL for sponsoring the league, and our sponsors, as well as my team. As usual, we worked really hard together and worked together well. And overall, they did a great job as well. Looked like a bunch of us did. I think we're in the top 5 or 6, so that's a fantastic team result for both teams.
Certainly is. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was Greg Sykes, your race winner, your pole sitter, and now Aussie standing by with Declan Eady.
Indeed, Declan Eady starting in 4th place, finishing 2nd. Was that the maximum race result for you today?
Well, I think I'd say so. Greg kind of had the run of the field, and right off the start, I had to check up when Nathan spun off. So he had already put up a 2.5 gap, so I was out of his draft. And, Greg's been fast in the officials all week, so I knew pretty much at that point it was a game of holding on to 2nd.
So you were running together with Mark McDonald for a long time during that first stint. Did you guys have any communication about working together and trying to catch up to Greg, or was it just both men for themselves?
Well, we didn't share words like over the voice chat or anything, but I think there was sort of this understanding that we were both trying to stay ahead of the guys in front of us and not so much trying to catch Greg. I mean, we each gave each other kind of a shot to see if the other one could push and close in. But once it became clear that we weren't catching Greg, it really just became kind of a battle, but be mindful that there's only a 3-second gap behind. But it was a great battle. So
yeah, congratulations for the 2nd place today, Declan. And who do you want to thank for getting it done for you today?
Well, like Greg said, you guys for putting on a nice show. Team RSR Esports, we practiced together, got the setup working. That was nice. And our sponsors, ButtKicker, Abruzzi Simulator Racewear, G Performance, Rosso SimRacing, as well as our social media partner, Formula Hypersoft News on Instagram.
Thank you, Declan Eady. And next up, I believe we are on to Ryan Jones, who's going to interview our 3rd place finishing driver.
2nd runner-up today, 3rd place at the line, Mark McDonald. Look, a pretty busy race for you today, especially in the first half.
Yeah, hey guys. 2nd runner-up sounds pretty good, but 3rd place, I think, is how I feel. No, I'm super, super happy with the race and super proud of the entire team. Greg's setup work and his hard work to get a solid baseline for all of us to work off of was just super valuable here. The setup that I ended up with was flawless. I had a race earlier today, an official race with Mitch, where we sorted out kind of what it was going to be like over a long stint and under racing conditions. So the entire team pulled together, and every lap there was somebody on the chatter saying, oh, we've got 2 seconds back to this person and 3 seconds back to this person. So super proud of the entire team and the entire effort that went into this. We've got 4 guys in the top 5, 4 guys in the top 5, I guess. So I mean that's awesome. And even Dan had a tougher race, I think, but he moved up like 6 places. So that's fantastic. I'm super psyched for everyone.
You had a massive battle with Edie early on, but then the pit stops happened and you fell away. Talk us through the error there.
Yeah, I saw the guys in my brother's pit stall and Dave's pit stall. They all had ice cream. Totally, threw me for a loop. missed the breaking point that I needed, ended up having a backup. And, then they got me up on the jacks. They gave me some gruff about it, and then they let me go on my way. So my crew chief, not super happy about that. And that's probably that mistake is on me. So I'm pretty bummed that kind of, killed the race with Declan. He drove a great race in the beginning. I heard his interview. I don't know what he's talking about. I was trying to run him as hard as possible the entire time. No cooperation, take no prisoners. No, but he kept it super clean. I really appreciated that. And it was a good fun time. Like about right before the pit stops, I was like, man, this is going to be tricky to figure out how to actually get by him here and stay ahead with this draft.
So apparently you secretly turned into Cole Trickle down on pit road, seeing some ice cream down there. Wanted a piece of it for yourself. Before I let you go, who do you want to thank for helping you get second runner-up today?
I want to thank Rust Racing and everyone on the team. This has been fantastic start of our season, and I'm super jazzed for everyone. Super excited. I want to thank SIMMSA and ButtKicker for sponsoring the series, PRL and everyone that goes into officiating, and you guys for broadcasting it. GSRC. Really appreciate it. See you guys next week.
We will see you there. So that was Mark McDonald coming home in third place today. And that will bring us to the end of our broadcast. As he said, thank you to SIMMSA for being the title sponsor of this series and Precision Racing League, bringing it to you, as always, with their hard work behind the scenes. Thank you to the companies that provide all the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can find out how you can get a hold of them by taking a look at your screen. That also includes the information for Junior Londe, who provides all of our great music. Thank you to the team with me today as well, Joe and Ozzy. You can find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, at globalsimracingchannel.com or GSR channel at Twitter, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Discord. Here we have a Discord server. Yes, discord.me/GSRC, and at Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to hit subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss a moment. Next race for this series, we head to Montreal. Plenty other races up on your screen. But from all of us today, thank you for joining us. And until next time, it's race clean, race hard, and see you on the track.